This is the Parramatta Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Parramatta Eels Club, home of the Eels, and also home of Jack's Pale Ale.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here. It is the game review podcast, Parramatta versus the Penrith Panthers, round number 13, Sunday the 1st of June. Played at Commbank Stadium, and look, it is a little bit later podcast. I usually put this one out lunchtime Monday, but it is a little bit later this time. I apologise for that one. Just had a little bit going on the Monday, so it is happening right now. Unfortunately, the Battle of the West was won by the Panthers, 18 points to 10, in front of a crowd at Commbank Stadium of 21,282 people. And look, Panthers, that Commbank Stadium is their home ground for the next couple of years. Obviously, it is Parramatta's home ground, so it was a battle of the tenants, you could say. Paradise wasn't Parramatta's, unfortunately. The Panthers getting the victory, I think about the third time they've beaten Parramatta at their home ground, Commbank Stadium. Before we get into the game, just wanted to say a quick shout out to the Talking Para podcast, and also the Cumberland Throw podcast, and also Parramatta Eels Club as well, major sponsor of this podcast as well, for putting on a great event on at Stirlow's pre-game. Now, there was a couple of Eels players there, being Hayes Dunster and Dan Keir, being interviewed by Damien Kelly, a former guest on the podcast, on the Paracave podcast. There was that interview as well as a little bit of NRL Eels trivia as well, and also a Gameday preview with Adam Martin and 60s from the Cumberland Throw podcast. They went through a little bit of a Gameday preview as well, but there was a huge attendance there, so well done to those guys putting that on, and Parramatta Eels Club as well. Hoping there might be a little bit more of that in the future as well, because it was a really good vibe. The crowd was pretty big in there in Stirlow's. There was an Eels jersey giveaway as a lucky door prize. So it was all happening there at Parramatta Eels Club. So a great event, and as I said, hopefully there'll be more of that in the future. Then there was the march across to the stadium from Paraleagues, the Swarm Active Bay. They do their marches from Parramatta Eels Club over to Commbank Stadium. Mostly every home game, definitely. This time it was, you could say it was a home game, but they did it as well. I was part of it as well. And look, passionate Eel supporters yelling chants, chanting para, and just really getting into it. So it is only small at the moment, but it is growing. So if you are a Eels fan, look out for the Swarm Active Bay at Parramatta Eels Club when they do their marches at home games, and join in the fun of marching across to the stadium before games. It is something that is really small at the moment, but it is growing. It will grow. Baby steps at the moment, but the more people find out about it and get involved, the bigger it will get. Also, the team winning as well will also help, obviously, as well. But look, congratulations to all those involved in that. It is a huge effort to get that up and running, but as I said, it's baby steps at the moment, but it will get bigger and better. That is for sure. Now, to the game. After the march, got into the stadium, and it was a really big crowd there, 21,000 as I mentioned. A lot of blue and gold there, obviously. And I was sitting with the Swarm Active Bay up there, section 207, I think it was, Commbank Stadium, high above the action. Great view up there, I must add, mind you. And look, Sean Russell, he scored the first try of the game in the 3rd minute, and look, things were looking great, weren't they, for Parramatta? A great, I think it was a ball from Dylan Brown to Sean Russell, and he crushed over for a great try really early on, and that set the tone, and I thought, okay, Parramatta's on here. That was a great start. That is what Parramatta needed to get into this game, that first try, and get into this game and start winning this game, get the confidence up. Unfortunately, Zach Lomax missed the conversion, but Parramatta were in front, so that was the main thing at that time. It was a real ding-dong affair, I thought, in that first half especially. It was only 6-4 at half-time. It was still anybody's game. Casey McLean got the try for the Panthers in the 17th minute, and I thought even half-time it was still anybody's game. I thought Parramatta's defence was really good. A slight error on the Casey McLean try in numbering up, but other than that, I thought the defence was really good, and it shows that over the last month or so that Parramatta have improved, especially from that start of the season. Terrible start to the season, but from there they have really improved. Not only their defence, but also their attack as well, I thought. Look, they had plenty of opportunities to score tries. Unfortunately, it didn't come about. Jack Williams got close to the line. Look, I thought it was a try. I might be a bit biased here, but I thought he got to the line and scored, to be honest. But the referee went up with as a no try, and obviously very hard to overturn that as a try unless you have really concrete evidence that it is a try. But I thought it was a try. A little bit of controversy at the start of the game, which I thought, being so far away, Luca Moretti got being so far away, it looked like a high shot from Isaiah Yeo, but looking at the replay at home here, it wasn't a high shot. It was the fact that Luca did sort of drop his head a little bit in the tackle, and Isaiah Yeo got him high. He was put on report, I think, Isaiah, for that tackle, but look, I don't think there'll be anything in it. I'm not too sure what charges have come out as of yet. As I keep on talking, I will see if I can find those ones. But sitting so far away, it did look like it was a high shot, but it wasn't. There was Luca's eye really blew up, and it didn't look the best there for Luca, but he went off with a HIA, so he was off for 15 minutes after starting the game. And look, I think that was a big blow at the start of the game for Parramatta, but he was able to come back, thankfully. Not like Will Penasini last week against Manly, who was pretty much the first minute got a HIA and was unfortunately ruled out of that game. But back to this game, and Josh Adokar, he scored the second try for Parramatta, the third try of the game, and what an effort from Josh Adokar to score that try. It was actually a great ball from Sean Russell, really quick hands, got it to Josh Adokar, and look, when I first saw it live, I thought, oh, geez, I don't know if that's going to be a try or not, but just looking at the replay, Josh Adokar, he was really confident that it was a try, and looking at the replay on the big screen, it was a try. It was an amazing effort from Josh Adokar just to leap into the air and get that ball down in the corner. Zach Lomax, well, he did a Cameron Smith-esque kick, didn't he? Because taking the conversion, he slid over like Cameron Smith back in 2016 at the Sydney Football Stadium, Melbourne, and the Sydney Roosters, where he took a sideline conversion as well and slipped over as he went to kick the ball, as he struck the ball, and it managed to go between the posts. So Zach Lomax, he did the 2025 version, so that is certainly something that's going to be on the highlight reels for years to come. Tom Jenkins, he scored a try for the Panthers in the 57th minute. Look, Zach Lomax, that man again, he was in the action. He was everywhere for Parramatta yesterday, especially a huge effort after his Origin game on Wednesday to back up and put in a performance like he did. But unfortunately, on this occasion, a little kick was put through and Zach Lomax went to turn around and unfortunately slipped over and could not get to the ball, and Tom Jenkins went over in the corner, and Nathan Cleary, he converted that try. 3 from 3 conversions for Nathan Cleary. He went for a 1-point field goal at one stage as well, but missed that one. I don't know how he missed that one, to be honest. It was pretty much sort of right in front. I guess it's probably hasn't been a while. It's been a while since he kicked a field goal, but yeah, I don't know how he missed that one. But look, it didn't matter at that time. I think Penrith were in front. And look, Nathan Cleary, he was probably the player of the match. He kicked a 40-20 with, I think, about 10 or 15 minutes to go, and it was a real turning point in the game, certainly for Penrith. His kicking game was, I guess, superior to Mitchell Moses' kicking game. Look, I was a little bit disappointed with Mitchell Moses' kicking game. It just seemed too much predictability that he was going to be kicking over to Zach Lomax's wing all the time. Look, we know how much of a great competitor in the air Zach Lomax is, but look, you definitely can try it a few times, but I think it does become a little bit predictable of doing that. And look, something else needs to be tried. I think there was a kick from Dylan Brown at one point. It probably wasn't the best kick. It probably sort of like chipped it into the air. Was comfortably taken by the Panthers players. Perhaps maybe a kick on the ground, maybe a grubber into the in-goal, maybe try and force a dropout. Maybe that could have been an option. Or maybe just a few kicks along the ground perhaps. But they just... See, the Parramatta kickers, mostly Mitchell Moses, just seem to want to bomb over to Zach Lomax's wing all the time. And look, as I said, Zach Lomax, great competitor in the air, but when you're the opposition and you see Zach Lomax on the wing, it goes to the fifth tackle, you just know what is going to happen, so you can probably try and prepare yourself for what is going to happen, and hopefully you can contain that. But as I said, look, you're going to try it, aren't you? Momax out there. Brian Toto, he scored the last try of the game in the 73rd minute. It was basically a smart move from Dylan Edwards. It was a cutout ball to Brian Toto, a bit of a sort of, what do they call it these days? A rainbow pass or a Harbour Bridge pass sort of thing out to Brian Toto, and he scored. He had bit of room out wide and scored the try. Something that Parramatta probably didn't try a lot. Mitchell Moses seemed to go a lot for the short ball to the second rower, either Kelma Tulagi or it was, I think, Jermaine Hopgood at one stage. It was the front rowers at one stage as well. We were sitting in the crowd and in the little group that we were, and that we were talking about why not try a cutout pass. There was actually a couple of opportunities where the wingers for Parramatta, Zach Lomax and Josh Adokar, were probably out wider and unmarked, and instead of going for a cutout pass, they went for the short pass. Unfortunately, it did not happen. But look, what do you do there? I mean, I suppose they were trying. The effort was there, but the execution just let them down. Perhaps that'll be something that they go back to training this week and have a look at. Definitely. I guess if something's not working consistently, maybe it is time to try something else. I don't know how hard that is to put that into a game sort of aspect, but for Parramatta, their attack has been a little bit better over the last month. I mean, they put 30 points on Manly. I think there was 28 against who was? Sorry, I just had a mind blank. Before that, it was Newcastle. That's right. Mind blank. Newcastle up there put 28 points on them, so they know that they can score points, and they do have the attack there. But unfortunately, against the Panthers yesterday, it just wasn't there. It just wasn't happening. There was an opportunity for Jordan Samrani to score a try. Unfortunately, I think it was the wrong ball thrown by Isaiah Iongi. And look, he's only, 14 games into his NRL career. And he's only young. He's only going to get better. He's a star of the future. It just was the wrong ball. It was meant for Zach Lomax, but Jordan was there. It was probably thrown harder than what Jordan thought it would be, because I thought it was probably going to go out to Zach Lomax, but unfortunately it hit what the commentators on Fox said, Jordan Samrani's beak, and I'm sure he would get a bit of a laugh out of that, because if you have a look on social media, you see Zachy Lomax and Jordan Samrani having a bit of a banter between each other on social media about their noses. It hit him there, and unfortunately he dropped the ball. Look, he still had a little bit of work to do, but look, at that point, if Parramatta go up to 16 points to 6 in front, it is a different sort of a game. But unfortunately, that was a knock-on, and I think after that, Penrith went on to score. So, a little bit of a turning point in the game, but look, as I said, Isaiah Iongi will only get better with experience, and he is a star of the future. Look, to a few stats now, and we'll start off with the team stats. And look, possession was 50-50, so there was only 3 seconds in time difference between the two sides, which is unbelievable. It was a great game of football yesterday. Completion rate, that is where it was a little bit different. Penrith 86%, having completed 39 sets out of 45. They only had the one extra set. Parramatta 81%, and completing 36 out of 44 sets for them. Run meters, the Panthers ran for about 270 more than Parramatta. Post-contact meters was 596 to the Panthers, 530 to the Eels. Line breaks was 4 apiece. Missed tackles, 33 to Parramatta, 26 to Penrith. Average set distance 35.73 metres for Parramatta, 40.1 metres for Penrith. So a little bit quicker play the ball as well, 3.31 seconds compared to Parramatta's 3.74 seconds in the play the ball area. More offloads to Parramatta, which we know is Parramatta's game. If it's on, they will offload. 11 offloads to Parramatta, to Penrith's 5. So we do know that they will offload Parramatta. It is in their game. 1 forced dropout each. Kicking metres, 748 to Penrith, 736 to Parramatta. 27 kicks for Penrith to Parramatta's 22. Which was, as I said, the kicking game of Nathan Cleary was better than Mitchell Moses' one. There was some great Mitchell Moses kicks, as nice and long, which is what we have known Mitchell to do. 8 interchanges to Parramatta. Penrith set only used 7. 2 HIAs for Parramatta, as I mentioned before. Luca Moretti was one of them, and Kitoni Kautoga, he was the other one late in the second half, I think it was. He only played 66 minutes yesterday, but that was due to a HIA as well. So he probably would have played close to the 80 minutes yesterday if it wasn't for that HIA. He got whacked, I think it was, and there was a lot of blood coming out of, I think it was his nose, on the field. So not too good that way. To Parramatta's top performers, and look, we'll start off with runs. Zach Lomax, again, over 200 metres with 201 from 24 runs, 73 post-contact metres. Jack Williams, who I think over the last few weeks, definitely the last 3 weeks, has been one of Parramatta's most consistent performers. Look, he made an error early on in the game, but certainly turned the corner after that and went on to run for 159 metres from 14 runs, 60 post-contact metres. Also made 44 tackles as well in 72 minutes of football. So as I said, Jack Williams, he's certainly coming into his own now in Parramatta, at Parramatta. Perhaps maybe on an edge might be his better position than a front rower. Just have to wait and see what happens there. But at the moment, he is killing it for Parramatta. That is for sure. Isaiah Iongi, 155 metres from 22 runs, 31 post-contact metres. Junior Paolo, over 100 metres as well, 122, 16 runs, 53 post-contact metres, 51 minutes for Junior. So, you know, it's pretty good for the forwards to get over 100 metres, especially Junior. And Josh Adokar as well, 115 metres, 14 runs, 41 post-contact metres. Tackles, Riley Smith, no surprise there, 46 tackles in 66 minutes of football. We saw Joash Papali come on in that second half for Riley Smith and play a bit of hooker. Probably not the best position. I thought, sitting there at the game, I thought it was a long time. When and how are we going to see Joash inserted into this game? Last week it was nice and easy with Will going off. Joash just played on the wing, but this week it was a little bit different with obviously no HIAs in the backs, and where to use Joash Papali. There has been talk that he may potentially fill Dylan Brown's number 6 jersey next season. There has been a little bit of talk of whether he does play a little bit of number 6 this year. I don't know what that would mean for Dylan Brown, but a lot of fans have said, well, look, let's just put Dylan Brown in New South Wales Cup or send him to Newcastle early, but that's not going to help us now that Lachie Galvin has gone to the Bulldogs. And look, you might as well keep your best player, or best players, I should say, even though he was a little bit quiet yesterday, Dylan, but he did a few really good things yesterday. There was a recovery of a ball to get outside the in-goal at a crucial point in the game, which was really good. So he does have flashes of brilliance, but we haven't seen the best of Dylan Brown, I don't think, this year, like we have in 2022, but interesting to see where they will use Joash this week against his former club, the Bulldogs. Jack Williams, as I mentioned, 44. Dylan Walker, 33. That was 45 minutes worth of footy. Jermaine Hopgood, 31 tackles. Now, Jermaine, again, is another player. Is he struggling with that back injury that he suffered last season? We haven't seen the best of Jermaine this year either. Is he in the back of his mind? Is he struggling with that injury? I think there was a drop ball yesterday from him. But still 31 tackles. Luca Moretti, 28 tackles in 39 minutes of footy. I think he would have got more football yesterday if it wasn't for that HIA. So they were your performers of the week. Now, when it comes to the ladder, I think it means that Parramatta now, unfortunately, slipped down to position number 16. I think that we're in 15th. The Panthers, they go to 14th on 11 points. Parramatta are on 10 points, equal with the Knights and Titans. Just beating the Titans with a better for and against. Look, for the Panthers, next week they play the West Tigers. And for Parramatta, it is the big King's birthday weekend game on the Monday, the 9th of June, at Commbank Stadium. Now, they are expecting a massive crowd there. It could even be like the prelim final of 2009. I think there was, 74,000 or something there that night. Look, they are expecting a massive crowd. The Bulldogs are on top of the ladder. They love nothing better than to beat Parramatta. Look, these rivalry games, and the Panthers and Eels was a rivalry game, the Battle of the West. The Bulldogs and Eels game, another rivalry game. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It does not matter where your teams are on the ladder. If one is at the top and one is at the bottom, it is a rivalry game. They both step it up because they want to win that rivalry game and have bragging rights. So do not count out the Parramatta Eels against the Bulldogs. It will be difficult, because we have seen the football that the Bulldogs have played this year, but they are coming off a week off. They do have now the signing of Lachie Galvin in their side. Will that be a disruption to their team? Will he get named to play the club that he rejected? Who knows? We all know what the Parramatta supporters will be doing. But if he does play... but will he play? That is the question. Some are saying he'll be off the bench. Some are saying he'll be starting. Some will say he'll just be in the extended squad. So we'll just have to wait for that magical Team List Tuesday and see where he is named. So, look, I think it could be a little bit of disruption to this Bulldog side if he is to start. Look, they're on top of the comp. They're obviously doing something right. So... why sort of change a winning formula? They've won 9 out of 11 games. But anyway, who cares about the Bulldogs? I'm a Parramatta supporter, and look, I give this Parramatta side a really good chance of beating the Bulldogs. They really gave it to the Panthers yesterday. Unfortunately, a few errors cost them the game in defence, but they really gave it to the Panthers, and we all know the quality side that the Penrith Panthers are. So, They will give the Bulldogs a shake. They played them last time, I think, in round 3. It wasn't a massive blowout score. A lot of football has been played since then. Will Penasini will probably come back into the Parramatta side somewhere. You potentially will see, unfortunately, Sean Russell drop out, I'd say, after his player of the match performance. Which is unfortunate for Sean because he has been Mr. Fix-It this year, either playing on the wing or in centre. Being the goal kicker as well. He gets a lot of bum rap sometimes, but Gigi played really well yesterday and actually got the Paracave podcast player of the year. He got the 3 points, so congratulations to Sean on that one. Unfortunately, I think he may give way, although it could be Jordan Samrani as well. So Will may partner Sean in the centres and Jordan may drop to the bench or potentially out. Jordan can cover the back row as well. But we'll just have to wait and see what Coach Jason Riles does for Team List Tuesday. Anyway, I've waffled on for enough of that. Look, stay tuned to the Talking Para podcast as well, which I am a part of on Facebook tomorrow. The live show is going to be a big show, but as it always is. But there'll be more about this upcoming game and more thoughts from some Para fans about the game that just was. Thank you very much for listening to this. I really appreciate it. Give me a follow if you are not already on Instagram and Facebook. Also on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. Share it with your family and friends as well. And any other Parramatta fan that you know of. That would be most appreciated. And the Paracave podcast, by the fan, for the fans. Go Para! How you going, mate? Are you a Paracave podcast listener?
I am, bro. It's a great podcast. Everyone tune in.
Go Para.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.